Possibly one of the more useful accessories for the OSMO Pocket, included in the expansion kit as well as a separate purchase, the DJI controller wheel for the OSMO Pocket adds some pretty useful features to an already feature-rich system. Constructed of plastic, keeping it as lightweight as possible and matching in colour with the OSMO Pocket, the DJI control wheel seemingly looks like a rather basic unit, but adds some nice extra functionality to the OSMO Pocket. On one side we have the main control wheel in silver, with a switch just below allowing the user to flick between panning and tilting. The wheel doesn't scroll endlessly, just a small amount either side, but more than enough to get the job done effectively. Otherwise we have two functional buttons to the side, making them easy to reach and providing some nice tactile feedback when pressed. Installing the control wheel is simply a matter of removing anything currently connected to the OSMO's accessory port and sliding the control wheel module into place, where it stays in place with no wiggle room whatsoever, a nice tight fit. Obviously the unit does stick out to one side and at first appears a little odd, but it doesn't spoil the overall look or feel of the OSMO. In fact, it's actually rather ergonomically comfortable, giving you a little more to grip onto when hand holding the Pocket, with your thumb falling onto the wheel in quite a natural position, if you're right-handed that is. If you're left-handed, then it'll be a little more awkward to use as intended, just something to bear in mind. So with the OSMO powered, the module springs into life with no further setup needed. The wheel can be used to pan the gimbal to either side in a smooth motion. It's progressive too, meaning the more you move the wheel, the faster the gimbal speed. Once mastered, you'll be able to pull off some nice smooth sweeping shots with ease. Flick the directional switch just beneath and we get the same functionality, although now with the tilt motor, allowing us to move the gimbal up and down, just as smooth, again with that progressive motion. You'll soon get used to this and wonder how you managed without it, considering it's in the perfect position, for right-handed use at least. However, I can't help wondering how much nicer it would have been without this gimbal control switch just below. Rather than a wheel, I would have much preferred a small thumbstick, similar to the original OSMO system, allowing me to move the gimbal in any direction rather than fixing it to a single axis at any one time. I can't help feeling this was a missed opportunity in that regard, helping to make the gimbal system much more versatile. Anyway, moving on, we also find two functional buttons, adding to the two already on the OSMO. Next to the Pocket's shutter button is the Quick Access multifunction button, with a single press cycling between photo and video, a double press recentering the gimbal, and a triple press switching the gimbal between standard and selfie modes. Considering the Pocket makes a great selfie camera, that triple tap function is now dedicated to one of the two new buttons on the control wheel. So tap the right button once to switch between standard and selfie modes, quick and easy. That leaves the left button, which is dedicated to switching between gimbal modes, another very useful shortcut button when shooting with the OSMO. Certainly a welcome addition, considering ordinarily to switch between modes we would swipe up on the screen, although this is slightly more awkward due to the thickness of the control wheel module. And now almost all features of the swipe up menu can be set with the functional buttons without any further screen interaction. In essence, that wraps up what the control wheel accessory is all about. Not adding any extra functionality to the device, but making it even easier, even more convenient, and even more comfortable to use handheld. And it all works wonderfully well. I certainly found myself using the module a lot more than I thought I would. Yes, you can't attach a smartphone with the module attached, but considering this makes the OSMO much more user-friendly, you'll probably find you use the smartphone less often anyway. Or you also have the option of attaching the wireless module simultaneously if smartphone operation is still needed. It's not without its downsides though. It adds a little bulk, even though I did find the Pocket more comfortable to hand hold, and I personally feel a thumbstick would have been much better suited rather than a control wheel, allowing more flexibility when it comes to controlling the direction of the gimbal. In addition, although the two additional buttons make using the system easier, I would have much preferred the ability to program these buttons to the features I personally use the most. We now have two buttons that switch between standard and selfie modes, for instance. Maybe I would use this button for something else if I could program it to do so. These aside, the unit is a joy to use and certainly adds comfort and ease of use to the OSMO Pocket, making it easy to recommend.